it's very important from a Brisbane Airport point of view as well. Both we just had Reconciliation Week, as many of you in the room might be aware of, and we certainly celebrated that at Brisbane Airport, and also we've got our Reconciliation Plan as well that we've got undertaking and working very closely with our local Indigenous leaders and communities out there at the airport as well. One thing you didn't say is that I'm actually an old boy of this college. So I actually graduated in 1991, actually, so it's a few years ago now. So I actually didn't go to school here. I was back at the Albion College, which was a fantastic school to be at during that period of time. I always say I did win the Year 8 Maths Prize, so it's something I keep, I went into humanities after that, but for that 1 year I was very good at maths. But as many of you might be well aware that the Albion campus or the school there is now sort of like a retirement village and there. So for our 60-year anniversary, we've already locked it in. So we're looking forward to that gathering as that happens as well. As I walked in, it's the first time I've been in this building. It's been wonderful to meet Anne, the principal, and a number of the students and teachers here tonight already. I did pop over and have a look at the trophy cabinet, which did catch my eye. So I did have a look through the trophies and the names. And my brother also went to the school here, and I did text him that the fact that there's a trophy still there with his name on it. And when I took a photo of it, sent it down to him. He's down at Melbourne at the moment, and he came back to me with, and this is typical of my brother, saying that is what I would expect for one of the greatest. So. So very humble, my brother. I always sort of say, tell a story with my brother. He, a couple of years after me, he actually had the co-ed started to come through just as he was sort of graduating. And I always remember being at that speech night when they were handing out the awards for the very first co-ed. So the guys, we won all the HPE subjects and the manual work and all that sort of stuff. And all the girls, they just cleaned up every other subject, all the academic subjects of that very first year. And my mum wanted Matthew, my brother, to do a degree. So in the old days, it was the old QTAC school. I think it was in the OPAC. I was at the TE score era, but my brother was in the OP score era. And he was flicking through the QTAC guide, as it was then, trying to find something that he could do and go to university, do that. He came up with a Bachelor of Leisure Management at Griffith University. So he graduated with top honours, for as far as I could tell, and he ended up for the best part of a decade being and worked up his ranks and was the head recreational manager for Great Keppel Island, and the fact they shut down the resort after he's left, I don't think it has any reflection on him at all. But the best part about it is that he was able, from that degree and from his studies there, he is now teaching year ones down in Melbourne and actually absolutely having a ball there. And I don't even think they even call him Mr. Heathwood. I think he's just Matty to all the kids, and he's a fantastic teacher and doing a wonderful effort with all the young kids down there. And as he said, he learned all he knew about teaching here at St. Columban's College. Look, as I said, fantastic here. Now I've been asked to talk a little bit about Brisbane Airport Corporation, which is what I've been very lucky to have been, and to me it's a great honour and a passion of mine that I've been lucky to end up there in some respects over the last 6 years. For those who got a little bit about inside of my career, when I left St. Columban's and had to do a degree and something, there's a number of students here, always follow your dream of what you would like to do in some respects. So I did a Bachelor of Business, majoring Public Relations at QUT, and I think there was about 3 blokes who actually did the course. So it was an occupational hazard right from the start. And from there I worked in consultancy, working with for many of the major companies around town, and it's been a great ride, and to the extent where I'm working with the Electoral Commission. I had a stint in Canberra, and also was head Government Affairs Manager for TEAS, the major construction engineering firm as it was there. I started 3 weeks before the Clem 7 decision, so I was there when they lost that, and then was part of that journey when they won Airport Link, left TEAS, and then consulted to a number of the major projects around town. I was part of the winning bid team that won Legacy Way, which was hugely satisfying satisfying for myself and the team that were around with that, and was looking for the next big project around town, and the airport came on my radar, and I was very lucky to actually somehow get recruited into the property area. Not that I don't know much about property, but it was all about raising the profile. And in the lead up to the G20, which some of you might remember a few years ago, the CEO, who was a fantastic lady who just recently stepped down from the role in the last 3 weeks, saw something very small in me and offered me this role. So I've got this wonderful position where I get to talk to people like yourself all around southeast Queensland. So I've got 3 parts to my role. One is in terms of government relations, and I note Trevor there and wish him all the best in a few weeks' time. So I do a lot of our work with our state and our council colleagues, and also with the feds. And then industry partnerships is huge. Brisbane Airport Corporation is a massive partner with plenty of all the major who's who around town. So my team members tell me I go to plenty of lunches, so I missed a lunch a lot according to them. And then, but I do see the real benefit of being part of a business community, because one of the things I did start at Brisbane Airport, which I'm very proud of, is an organisation called B&E Enterprise, and it's all about promoting business within the airport precinct. So if anyone's doing business with the airport, please let me know. I'd love to have you part of the B&E Enterprise community there. We'll try to keep this relatively light and breezy, a few different slides there, but as I said, for those who don't know, Brisbane Airport has been privatised for 21 years now, actually. I think it's our 21 years anniversary, on a 50 by 49 year lease. And we're predominantly owned by superannuation companies. So probably everyone in this room, through your superannuation company, are a little small owner of Brisbane Airport Corporation. One thing we do have, and it's a little fun fact I always like rolling out, is that we're the most domestically connected airport in Australia. So through Brisbane Airport, you can just about get to every little city and community across Australia, and it's something we're very, very proud of. And what we also think that's been wonderful is the recognition we've had in the last couple of years. Brisbane Airport has been voted the best airport in Australia Pacific region for 2016 and 2017, and something that is something very special for those who work there. We're also voted as the best airport staff service in 2017 as well. So let's get, when you're talking about these sort of things, you've always got to roll out some numbers here. So Brisbane Airport's got 23.2 million passengers that that roll through our terminals each and every year. 31 international destinations, 49 domestic destinations, which I think is also sort of ticking upwards. And when you look at the split between international and domestic, you can just see there with 17 million on the domestic front, and probably getting very close to 6 million on the international passenger front as well. So that's where the big name of the game is, and there'll be some key messages as I go through my little presentation here, and something I'm very excited about, that with so many businesses here, I'm going to encourage you to get up and get ready and think about how you can work collaboratively with the millions of people that are going to be visiting the southeast corner over the next 10 years or so and beyond, because that's where I think this wonderful opportunity is for our business communities and the people and the students coming up to look at a whole range of opportunities within that space. We're now looking at this whole growth that's set to continue with recent announcements at Brisbane Airport. We've had Cathay Pacific now operating daily direct flights to Hong Kong. Air China has joined us with direct flights between Brisbane Airport and Beijing. Hainan Airlines are going between Brisbane and Shenzhen. Emirates increasing its Dubai B&E frequency, and probably those who may have noticed in the last week or so, a couple of weeks ago, Malaysia Airlines have now returned doing direct flights to Kuala Lumpur, and I think it's a real ripper, which is going to create fantastic opportunities over the next period of time, and that is that Qantas has made the decision to actually base half its new Dreamliner fleet in Brisbane, and I think it's about the 7th of July for that they're going to start the Dreamliner run, which is, I think it's originally it's just going to go from Brisbane to Melbourne, but then we're just waiting and working with the government and other parties at the moment, because we'd love to have that direct flight to a major destination that's not covered off yet, and we're hopefully we'll make that announcement later in the year. So there's about 334 international services per week connecting Brisbane to all corners of the globe, and something we want to continue over. More than happy to provide the slides later for those who can't read them, but the international growth, it shows just why, as you'll see in a couple of slides to come, why we're doing the great investment and the significant amount of investment that's happening at Brisbane Airport. And so the decision was sort of taken around that financial years, and you see there between 08 to about 12, where if you do the same thing, you get the same result. And then they've tried to really step change it here in the business. And we've got a local person in China. We're doing more foot traffic. We've got a great team of the aviation development team that travel the globe constantly, and they're getting these deals done. And it's just really exciting. That's what's happening here with something like over 300% increase, and we can see that growth really happen over the next period of time. And I think probably each of you in your room, for those, when I was growing up, going to the Sunshine Coast or going to the Gold Coast was a big weekend, or you plan it for your holidays. Now people are going to New Zealand for the weekend. They're going to Bali for the weekends, and that international rise for special events is really important. All our rugby league warriors, they're crossing, coming to Brisbane to play. We've got sporting teams and events that are happening all over the world, and people are now doing more and more international travel. I have to admit, every time I cut my birthday cake when I was young, I always said I wanted to go to Disneyland, and it took me nearly 20 years to get there, sort of style. But now, people are jumping on on the plane, having their first plane ride when they're 6 months old and younger, 1 and 2 year old. So it's actually just part of just about a new form of public transport, and we think that growth is certainly going to continue over the next period of time. But it's more than just passengers, and this is a really important, I think, slide for what I think for the business community to think about as well. The whole area of air freight, I think, is going to change. We've now got a situation that, particularly in the fresh produce and seafood area, where planes leaving Brisbane Airport tonight, the seafood on that will be on the tables in Japan tomorrow, and that immediacy that we can actually do is absolutely fantastic. But while that's sort of a growing area, there's a whole heap of unkept need. And I've just listed a whole range of different cities there, from Chicago and San Francisco to Doha as an examples of cities where there's a huge opportunities that we can actually uplift that whole freight story, and encourage all businesses to even start thinking, if you're in that freight and trade area, what can you do to further extend that area as well. And part of this all is that we're building a better airport. So with all the passengers that we know that's going to couple, and particularly will double over the next 20 years, one of the things we're doing is very much investing. We've invested about 1.7 billion since about 2012, and we've got about 1.8 billion to come until 2022. It's just phenomenal, the range of different projects. And one of the things I wanted to point out, it's more about the runway, which I'll get to in a moment. It's some really smart projects, from the new international terminal and an apron that's just been recently opened, to the largest corporate solar project that's happening in the Southern Hemisphere. Just a fantastic, every roof across Brisbane Airport is going to have a solar panel on it very shortly. We've got phenomenal type projects with new property projects coming online. There's a bulky goods store opening up shortly as well. And then one of the projects I was talking about a little earlier was about the auto mall. So if anyone's been driving out to Brisbane Airport or going to, or picking up a friend or relative, you might have noted that big area that's being cleared near the international terminal. Well, that's not the runway, that's where the auto mall's going. So when I talk about an auto mall, I'm talking about a facility that's going to have a test track that's going to be designed by Mark Scaife, the supercars, for those who are the motorheads in the room. And AP Eagers and Skyfleet have already taken the initial tenancy, so there'll be new car showrooms, service centres, a facility there to allow for defensive driving and see for corporate days and other types of opportunities that may well be used in that facility. A fantastic asset to have on the airport. And as I was saying earlier, for someone who actually bought a new car not so long back, I actually went out to the airport to test drive it. So to actually have a facility there that can be used, you can just see that is going to be a phenomenal sort of asset. And linked that as well is that we've got Gulf Central and a place that I'm calling my new office, which is the 2 new hotels and the conference centre, which is right next to the domestic terminal. Fantastic location, great restaurant, there's a restaurant, 5-star restaurant in the Pullman called Apron, and then in the Ibis they've got the Crib Island Beach Club. So if anyone remembers that old area with where the Bee Gees grew up, and they've got some fantastic memorability in there as well. But to me, the piece to resistance, and I had Andrew and Claire, we took them up there the other day when we did a bit of a promo for today's function, was the Sky Lounge. Unbelievable. You're up on the top there, 270 degree views you can see from Moreton Bay to Mount Cootha, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And they were going to open it up for a bar, but I think they were worried all the plane spotters would just about live there, I think. But now it's a great function space, and I do a number of reception, boardroom lunches and the like, but totally recommend checking that place out as well. Part of this whole thing as well, I'd mentioned about the international terminal that's been revamped. Well, one of the things that actually did with all the new food and beverage facilities there is that most of those areas now have an obligation to serve and to promote their local produce, and it's fantastic what's being served up there. So I really encourage those who are involved in that whole area of local produce and want to learn more, I'm certainly can help you out with there. And just as an example, the Brisbane River Grill used Tambourine Mountain eggs, and I know when they first got the contract they may have only had a small supply, but now it's just been a fantastic boost to that sort of business. There's Burger Urges using bacon from Yatala, and Woombye handcrafted cheese. There's a whole range of different things. So that one thing we do very, very well here in Queensland and southeast Queensland is food, and we've got some internationally recognised chefs. And for us to do a little bit at the airport to promote Queensland on the world stage and provide that lasting memory for people to come back and visit, I think is extremely important. We finally get to the big project, and this is the big sand pit that's been developing over a while. Well, the runway's here and happening, and it's just such an exciting project, I think, for Brisbane, southeast Queensland and the like. So very much on time and on schedule to open in mid-2020. This is a $1.3 billion privately funded investment, but I think the biggest story about all this is that 89% of all the project expenditure will be in southeast Queensland. And so when you've got an airport that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, when Brisbane Airport opens a new runway, we'll have more capacity at Brisbane Airport than any other airport around Australia, which provides a wonderful opportunity, I think, for us as a city, us as a region, and us as a state to make the most value of that as well. And I'm already in conversation with our government colleagues about, with more flights coming in, how do we actually connect through to the regions? I've been on a significant roadshow over the last few weeks with the Star Entertainment Group, because you'd be aware of their significant investments that they're making both down the Gold Coast and at Queen's Wharf in Brisbane. And I have to admit, having worked in Brisbane, lucky enough in all my career, I always sort of joke I've worked across Australia, never worked overseas, but I've made it to the airport. But as we move forward with this, one of the greatest things I think that I'm seeing around town is this great effort for people to work in a collaborative and in partnership. So I just encourage to think what you can do as a school community, think what you can do as a business community and as a region, because what we actually need is more of these itineraries and what can people do in this area. And I've been working with your local council here at Moreton Bay as well about some of the great initiatives they're doing as well. There's just some of the numbers. As I said, they're probably too small for those in the back of the room, where it talks about some of the earthworks that's been taken there. But this is a significant project for Brisbane and something that's going to add, I think, enormous value to the city and the state as well. One of the things that is coming up, and it might be actually of interest to both the students into next year as well, every 5 years we're obligated to do a master plan, and our master plan is currently up. So we're busily doing a lot of consultation and a bit of and writing, and then next year it'll be out for a broad public comment period. So anyone who's actually interested in everything from land planning and transport and energy and sustainability and property development and all those sort of things that come together in a master plan, there may well be an opportunity to actually look through that document, and more than happy to give a presentation to schools or to the school and the students around that sort of time in the first quarter of next year as well. Really important document that sets the planning for the next 20 years and allows us to grow to the future as well. And finally, just I want to just reiterate the sort of three key themes I've been talking to that also leads into partnerships. We're very much ticking a lot of boxes in the state at the moment at Brisbane Airport, where we're building stuff. There's a heap of jobs being created every day, and most importantly as well, we're creating the tourism, welcoming millions of new people first time to Queensland, whether it be visitors, holiday makers, students. It's a huge market and an opportunity that we're very keen to keep on encouraging globally and working with the city and the state as well. Very much think the business partnerships is a wonderful opportunities for people to be involved. Freight I touched on as well, and it all leads into partnerships. As I said, it's a great privilege for me to be invited back and address my old school here today, and more than happy to take questions, and it'll be part of the discussion afterwards. But there's a wonderful video we put together which sort of really ties the whole presentation up into a bow, which we've done, and I'd like to leave our presentation with that. So thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you got something out of today's presentation.